Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7 by 7. So we're continuing our series of deep dives into the Last Jedi novelization, and today is part 2 of the 3-part finale to Act 2 of The Last Jedi, of the movie itself and also the novelization by Jason Fry and the narration by Mark Thompson for the audiobook version. So there are a few things that were rather funny that didn't make it onto the big screen, and I kind of wish they had, because I think it would have made for some really amazing stuff. I mean, there's one thing that definitely could not have gone onto the screen, and that has to do with the fact that Rose is swearing a lot. Apparently, there's a scene earlier in the novel where they're on Canto Bight and she's yelling at various people on the street that might be running them over because they're too busy going where they want to go and doing what they want to do. And the novel makes a note of her swearing in very proficient ways, and Finn is rather surprised, shocked, impressed, whatever. Well, this time when they are brought into that giant landing bay by Phasma and company, and they're there with Hux and all of that, there's one point where Rose starts swearing and using words that I think, let me see, yeah, it's that she would make an Automac stevedore blush, all right? So stevedore is like a longshoreman kind of guy, so, or gal, it doesn't have to be a guy, but longshoremen are generally well known for having a prolific and serious vocabulary of swearing. So something like that could not have made it on the screen for The Last Jedi, of course. But it's really rather funny how Rose is turned into a foul-mouthed swearing kind of technician, as opposed to the hopeful, optimistic, idealistic kind of person that we saw her as in The Last Jedi. Not to say that she doesn't still retain that optimism, but yeah, there's definitely a different angle on it in the novelization. And not only that, but she actually bites Hux. She gets her teeth into the meat of his palm, like just and nails him. And he's like, and ends up leaving the whole scene because he's nursing his wounded hand that has teeth marks in it and everything. And so he's like, all right, I'm not going to bother being here for the execution because I'm too busy whimpering over my hand, which if Finn is to be believed, or at least if his inner monologue is to be believed, then when Hux slapped Finn, Finn was actually expecting to get more from Hux beyond that one slap, but the fact that he didn't do more made Finn think that Hux had hurt his hand slapping Finn. So it was a real kind of situation. I thought that was very funny. I mean, think of it already. Like 3 things that we didn't get to see in the movie but were in the novelization: Rose cursing and swearing, Rose biting General Hux, and Hux injuring his hand while slapping Finn. I mean, I think this is fantastic stuff. And you can see why Hux is upset about this whole situation anyway, because he actually believes Finn to be one of the primary reasons why Starkiller Base was lost, because of his defection and the information that he was able to share with the Resistance. So yeah, Hux has it in for Finn just as badly as Phasma does. And there's a comment in there from, I guess, the point of view of the stormtrooper body at large, that says, rumor had it that Phasma, once upon a time, was the divine queen of a brutal and savage land. Well, I don't know about divine queen, but there was certainly something along those lines, I guess, in the novel Phasma by Delilah Dawson. She was definitely on a brutal and savage world, and she certainly took charge of the situation, but yeah, Queen, not so much, but, that's, small matters, basically. And Phasma, too, is more than happy to have Finn back in her grasp, not just because of his defection and his betrayal and whatnot, but also because he's the only one left who knows that Phasma is the one who lowered the shields on Starkiller Base, and so killing him is a huge priority for her. Why she didn't just shoot him dead right when she walked in on him at the hyperspace tracking room, I mean, yeah, that seems rather silly to me, but I guess she likes her pomp and circumstance within the whole First Order frame. Otherwise, had she been back on Parnassus, which was her home world, she probably wouldn't have hesitated to just shoot him on the spot. So maybe, just maybe, she's getting a little soft, or she's getting a little bit careless in her time with the First Order. Yeah, she would have been a lot more brutal and a lot quicker about that brutality if she had been back home on sweet, sweet Parnassus, when it wasn't sweet at all, okay? And for Finn's part, you know, he just wanted to save Rey, and then he just wanted to run away. But this whole experience with DJ has turned his head around, and now he is at the point where he absolutely wants to fight with the Resistance, even if it means that he's going to die within a day or two. He has just come to the realization that there's no way he can live like DJ lives, like without any sort of commitment to anyone. Not, you know, about the the crime and all that fun stuff or anything like that. No, just the amorality of the whole situation, that he has to absolutely commit to the side of the good guys. So there is a great learning lesson for Finn in that regard, and it's beautifully expressed by Jason Fry in the novel. And I think that it does a lot to explain his behavior on Crate later on, when he decides to go on that suicide run up the mouth of that miniature Death Star cannon. And speaking of explaining a lot, for another segue here, so one of the cool things about the novelization is that it affords the writer the opportunity to think about things that may have occurred in the movie viewers' brains, and yet they didn't have the answers for. So particularly in this case, the situation is, what happened to BB-8, right? Because we know Rose and DJ and Finn got arrested, but we never saw BB-8 with them, so what exactly happened? Well, BB-8 is actually convinced that people just don't care about droids, that they literally do not exist, because once the good guys plus DJ were arrested by the stormtroopers and by Phasma and the ISB guy and the BB-9E droid, everybody just left. Like, they didn't even bother checking that trash can going, why is this trash can here? Or anything like that. So he just sat there and then eventually decided that he was going to try to disable the hyperspace tracking thing, which was a really funny idea, but then realized, no, he's not going to be able to do it. So he then had to figure out how to get the trash can back over his head so he could continue sneaking around on the Supremacy. So again, another bit of slapstick where, you know, giant trash can on, giant trash can off, giant trash can back on again. And he does say how awkward it was for him to try to get that trash can back over him. But hey, more power to him. He was able to do it. And that is going to do it for the meat of the podcast today. There is a little bit more over at sw7x7.com/iTunes, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. So please do check that out. And in the meantime, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.